So last night, you guys, on Friday Night SmackDown, CM Punk laid Roman Reigns out with the GTS after mentioning that Paul Heyman will be in his corner for WrestleMania Night 1. So this was very interesting, you guys. You see Paul Heyman was definitely selling it, definitely tearing up, saying no to his tribal chief. Roman seems like he's lost everybody. And before all the GTS and everything came about, that's when, Roman was laughing at CM Punk and, was saying, oh, man, he's not going to join you, and things like that. But, at the earlier part of the show, we seen that CM Punk and, CM Punk and Paul Heyman had like a segment to open up the show. And he was like, well, Roman's not here yet. And CM Punk was like, when Roman does come here, let me know when Big Chief is here. And then, so of course, that's what you seen at the beginning part of my show. So you guys, it was definitely interesting, especially when Paul Heyman came out, even though while Roman Reigns wasn't even there. And it seems like it's like a pretty much of a love fest, kind of like fighting over Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman being like, I think he was like, at the time, he was a special counsel for Brock Lesnar. And then he was like, yeah, but long story short. Anyways, we end up seeing where we had the teaser of Aleister Black. I still like his name as Malachi Black, though. And we seen like the vignette with the 4 symbol with like the flames going, flames kind of coming up underneath it and all. And I was like, we need him badly right now. And I'll tell you why later on in this review video. So, of course, you seen like the skull head with the quarters or some sort in his eyes, and then you see like a hand. Looks like Aleister Black possibly will be having like a whole suit like thing on, somewhat like how Damian Priest has something on. But anyway, at the beginning of the show, they pretty much showed like the video package from last week as the, having like the contract signing and everything. It was pretty interesting. And then of course, we seen what, CM Punk was saying to Roman and etc. But then again, you guys, it was a very interesting thing with this, with this love fest between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman, and Seth Rollins. He's on the sideline just laughing. So my perspective, is that Seth Rollins could be, aligning himself with Paul Heyman, because Roman Reigns and CM Punk is fighting over Paul Heyman, and it's like very, it's like very funny. And so with that being said, you guys, Seth Rollins, he ended up coming in the car, and Paul Heyman was like, my trouble chief, you are here. But like I said, Seth Rollins came out the car, which was pretty funny as well. Roman Reigns ends up showing up at the show. He didn't have Paul Heyman or anybody with him. So I was like, wow. It's like, and he just came out walking fast, holding up the ones or anything. He came out there with a purpose. Of course, Seth Rollins, he ended up showing up to the ring, which we figured that he was going to before CM Punk. And so that's when the whole mentioning thing went down, and Roman Reigns had this look like, wait, what? Like, what's going on here? So it definitely had like a very interesting thing that went down. And like I said, you can see once again where Paul Heyman looks like, he was tearing up. He was pretty much selling the whole idea and all that good stuff. And, I was pretty much just laughing, about this thing. But it definitely was interesting. And WWE hasn't done a triple threat match like this with like some meaningful stipulation like behind it or whatever. So of course with CM Punk, like I said, he GTS Roman Reigns. It definitely had Paul Heyman, winner like dang. And like I said, my theory thing is that CM Punk and Roman Reigns will not have Paul Heyman in their corner at the end. Seth Rollins will some kind of way align himself with Paul Heyman, and it's going to be very interesting because we've seen before where Paul Heyman aligned, himself with Brock Lesnar multiple times. But anyways, we got Rey Fenix, of course, you guys, make his anticipated debut in WWE. And he was like throughout his moves, like WWE let him keep his moves. that he did when he was in All Elite Wrestling, Lucha, Triple A, and all that stuff. And he ended up facing one of the NXT Tag Team Champions, Nathan Frazier, and I was very impressed with that, of how WWE actually put Nathan Frazier on the main roster, kind of how they did Axiom, the other tag team champion from NXT. So I thought that was very cool of the WWE to actually bring Nathan Frazier to fight him, because Ray Fenix has like a lot of speed and everything, and of course Nathan Frazier definitely has a lot of speed. So it was a credible opponent for Ray Fenix to make his debut. I thought it was going to be Andrade, but we haven't seen Andrade in a while, so it was very interesting to actually see these two. And yeah, I would have to say this match right here, you guys, was definitely a banger match, I would have to say. And after the match, Byron Saxton, he ended up getting in there, asking how Penta feel making his debut in WWE. And he was like, he said he is WWE, and I was very impressed with how how he was like very, very emotional, you guys. And it looked like he wanted to it looks like he wanted to cry. And I was like, man, that's very impressive. Look at his face, y'all. He was happy, like genuinely happy. And of course, that's when we see Santos Escobar and Humberto Carrillo, Angel Garza back there watching the match. And and Santos was like, that's how you make a debut. And they were pretty much, like I said, we were gonna see Legado del Fantasma, definitely split up as a group. Drew McIntyre, he had like a little segment back there, about his eye and how Damian Priest, so on and so forth. And then we ended up getting Tiffany Stratton with Charlotte Flair. It was very interesting of how WWE actually did this, because every time you see them, they're always wearing the same attire of some kind of way. And then it was very personal when Charlotte Flair mentioned Lugia Kaiser being in her DMs, and I was like, whoa. And then after then, Tiffany Stratton, she ended up coming back, with her, walking alone, pretty much of referencing of how she's, divorced from Andrade. So that made that definitely hit like a big nerve for her as well. We end up seeing where DIY was defeated by the Motor City Machine Guns to face the Street Profits for the Tag Team Championships, which I don't think they're going to win those Tag Team Championships back. That's just my opinion. But anyways, you guys, we also had were Pretty Deadly. I liked them of how they kept promos, and it was very interesting how WWE actually handles them. And I was like, wow, it's pretty cool. But they're gonna be, looks like they're gonna be facing Miz and Carmelo Hayes. Ms. Awesome or something like that. But anyways, you guys, we also ended up getting Naomi versus B-Fab in a very short match. It was kind of weird. But anyways, we had Nick Aldis come out and made their match set for WrestleMania, which Jay, was about to say something on the mic. You seen she had a mic in her hand, but she was happy when Nick Aldis came out there and mentioned the match. And you can hear Naomi. It seems like this thing is real between those two, because Naomi grabbed the mic. Naomi got out the ring after Jade attacked her, and she was like, I hate you. And I was like, whoa, I was like, that seems real. But then, you guys, we ended up getting the breaking news that we heard about all day yesterday. And it was definitely made official that Kevin Owens will be out, indefinitely, and he won't be able to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And with that being said, you guys, we, the crowd definitely felt of how Kevin Owens was feeling. And, of course, Randy Orton came out. The crowd, they chanted a little bit of Kevin Owens and so on and so forth. But he has to have, neck surgery, and yeah, that canceled the plans for Randy Orton. A fan ended up saying something to Kevin Owens, not sure what that was about, but it was a lot of people feel like it's a work, but definitely, this is definitely something serious, because Nick Aldis had like the same situation as as what I've seen before with his neck. And Randy Orton was let down as he watches Kevin Owens walk up the ramp. Like, dang, I don't have a WrestleMania opponent. I don't think Randy Orton has never missed a WrestleMania since he's been in WWE, and Randy Orton looks like he was let down. And then, of course, he RKO'd Nick Aldis. And I was like, well, dang. I was like, now he's trying to snap his neck. So I was like, that's pretty crazy. Now, of course, who are we going to get now for Randy Orton's opponent? I feel like they can make him a special guest referee for Cody Rhodes, John Cena's match. We could do that. We can do him. They can call Aleister Black a little bit sooner. Him versus Aleister Black at WrestleMania, where Randy Orton may have a special opponent. But then again, Nick Aldis seems like, he's a very, he's like a very, face type GM. He's not like a heel. But anyways, you guys see the photos here of Braun Strowman versus Jacob Fatu. Was a very incredible match. Jacob Fatu ended up winning. Next week we get Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. I'm wondering what he has to say, of what he want to talk about. But anyways, we also got the women's gauntlet match. We see all the teams here, but why didn't we have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross into this thing? Maybe you even put some NXT people in here. Let me know what you guys think. Show, I would have to give it a 9.2 out of 10. Like, comment, subscribe to Chris Wrestling Views here on YouTube.com.